Hey, my name's Tima, and this is my story. So it starts back in Nigeria, which is where I was born and where I grew up and where my family's from. So growing up in church was amazing. It was something we did every Sunday. I didn't really have a choice. It came with breathing or living in the house. It was something that we did, and that's my first introduction into Christianity. It was cool going to church. But to be honest, I think after you grow to a certain age, by the time I was a teenager, I didn't really like it anymore because it felt like I was being forced to go to church. I really feel like I fit in, or it was a cool thing to do. So things changed for me a bit when, at the age of 14, living in Nigeria, I moved to Kenya for boarding school. So now living in Kenya, there's no parents. Church wasn't happening every Sunday, so I sort of grew away from that. Got in a lot of trouble, obviously, because my parents weren't there anymore. There was no parental guidance. That was the beginning of me moving away from God. Fast forward to age 17, finishing high school, I came over to Canada, and now there really is no parental guidance. So my first encounter with Jesus, what I would say happened after my first year of university. I was a typical university dropout, wanted to just be with my friends and smoke weed and not go to class because that was the cool thing to do. I also really love music, so would skip class and would just be rapping with my friends or playing basketball, playing soccer. So as I said, the first encounter happened after that because I failed out of my first year of university. My dad wanted me to come back home because obviously you're paying international fees, and if they're paying international fees and you're not going to class, that's a problem. And my mom, I don't know, I guess by the grace of God, was loving enough to want to give me a second chance to stay in Canada. So she asked me to go to the School of Ministry in Toronto. That was pretty much my last chance, and that I would say was my first encounter with Jesus, because I got to know that being a Christian was about having a relationship, and it wasn't just something that you pretty much inherited from your parents. And that was a good experience. It was for 5 months, but after I left the bubble of being in that ministry school for that time, sort of backslid. I always felt the need to just fit in and just go back to where I thought I fit in, which was with my friends, which was going back to our old habits of not really caring about life and just doing whatever it is we wanted to. Things changed for me, I believe it was in 2014, when I felt God didn't answer a prayer that I had been praying for, and it was a personal issue of mine. And after that happened, that God didn't answer the prayer for, I pretty much, broke up with God and said, yeah, I'm going my own way. So going back to my old friends, things had gotten worse. My best friend at the time was into things that are not good. Getting wrapped up in that and pretty much almost losing my life and going to jail changed me. The whole time, I believe what had really helped was having one of my Christian's friends show me that God had kept me through everything, and coming to that realization myself as well, after praying to God thinking he hadn't answered my prayer, him removing me from the situation that I was in was sort of the biggest part for me, because it sort of showed me that yes, he's still working on the other issues I feel that he hadn't answered, but he had totally saved my life from what could have been absolutely life-changing. God kept on, tugging on me to, trust in him a lot more. And thankfully for me, God brought around friends who loved me for me. And I think that was the first time I felt like I didn't have to fit in and I could just be myself. What was really hard for me was coming here on my own, or being away from home on my own at age 14 and 17. I never felt like there was a place where I really fit in. And the only place I thought I fit in was with my friends, just because we had been through so many dire life situations, and that really changes you, where you build a lot of unhealthy bonds. When I changed my community and coming to Living Hope, God surrounded me with a lot of young men like myself, who pretty much were following God, were authentically themselves, and they spoke words of life over me that had never been spoken before. And changing my community, I would say, for me, to these new friends was really, really life-changing for me, because now I understand the fact that God has created me uniquely and I don't need to fit in anywhere, and I'm just okay the way I am. Fast forward now to where I am. I am in a great community here at Living Hope. I get to serve with the young adults ministry, which is near and dear to my heart, because I think God has put a burden there for me, for younger men like myself who always try to fit in, just to let them know that, hey, you can just be yourself, and like with God, you just have to be yourself. You don't have to be someone else, because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with in general, identity and not knowing who they are. I get to use my musical abilities for Him. I get to be a part of the worship team. I get to be a part of the media team and help do sound. Another thing as well was the friend I was talking about that showed me about how God pretty much was protecting me during that time is now my wife. We are happily married, and we both serve with the young adults ministry, and that's my story, and this is how God has changed me.